All right, well, thank you so much, Caira, for joining me. I'm really excited to have a chance to talk with you. And maybe to start off, just maybe introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about what you do. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Caira Lee is my last name. What do? I do three things. I export art from Ghana to the US under a company called Gifted, which is becoming a school, Gifted School for the Fine Arts.
I love that.
I do a second thing, which is social media marketing manager for small businesses in Accra, like Green Gold Garden, GH, on Instagram. Y'all should follow them and buy plants. It's a woman who used to work in the gold industry, and then when COVID hit, she decided to open a garden and start planting and selling flowers and plants. And she's been really successful so far. So if you need any plants, shout out to her. I do a third thing, which is I'm like a counselor, spirit guide, priestess. I usher people into occult, mystery topics like astrology, meditation. I'm a meditation coach. I have clients who I teach meditation. And I'm really a consolidator of information. So I was gonna say I don't do anything special, but it is special. But what I do, I consume information and synthesize it. And then when people have questions, I go, you should check this out. 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 This is what I think. So some of the information is my synthesis, but sometimes I'm just like, hey, have you read this book? Have you checked out this lady on YouTube? And I feel like I channel for people the resources that they need at the time to grow.
I love that, because I was actually going to use the word channel. I was like, you definitely need to use the word channel as well. And I think we were able to meet in a really unique way. And one of the things I think that's so amazing about you is that you really do help support people build their awareness in ways that people might not have really thought about first.
Right.
Or it doesn't come to mind.
Right.
So astrology, numerology, I think for me, having the opportunity to sort of get a reading from you, I think was really, really fascinating. And it's something that I've continued to look at. So how did you become interested in sort of alternative ways of building your own awareness and the awareness of others?
Well, I would always say I was born this way. I think the inclination to do something is usually in a person, like an athlete, or the athletes that are really good, they just love the game. So I really love the information. I'll be up for nights reading about solar system and planets and how they form, and myths about where we as people come from and how our DNA is built. And I would just be like, this is what everybody does, right? Everybody loves this information. And it's like, no, girl, that's you. And I'm like, oh, like it's legitimately fun for me. So it's a natural draw affinity that I have with the information. And then my parents, I would say, acclimated me to it in a sense. I grew up Hebrew Israelite, so my parents were converted to Judaism. So I always kind of was into spirituality because we celebrated the Sabbath and we covered our head during prayer, and we had Hanukkah and spin the dreidel, and that was always alternative to like regular Black American life, who most of us are Christian. So I always had the perception that, okay, there are alternative spiritualities. And then as I got older, so the story I always tell, I'll make it quick, is I was born into Judaism. And then my mom's best friend, who was my aunt, Aunt Frenchie, is a Muslim. She practices Islam. She's a Muslim. And she was my homeschool teacher because I was homeschooled for a lot of years. So I was a Jewish kid, but I was homeschooled by a Muslim woman. And then I went to middle school at a Catholic school. So Baltimore City, where I'm from in the States, has really bad public schooling. So my mom was like, this Catholic school is the best opportunity you have. And it didn't matter that we were Jewish and that they were Catholic. She was like, you just need to go to school. So by the time I was 11, I had deeply experienced Judaism, Islam, Catholicism. Then when my mom passed away, I moved in with my father's brother, my uncle and my aunt, who are still devout Christians. So then I started going to church, and I was going to church when we were Jewish too, because my mom's other friend was Christian, and sometimes we would go to church with them. And then my aunt would go to synagogue with us, and then we would go to the mosque with her. So my mom was always in a flow between traditions, her friends, and she was very open about that. And then my dad, he kind of got me into like the weird stuff. I remember he introduced me to a book called, I don't remember what the book was called, but the author was David Icke. And y'all people who know, you know, David Icke is like a well-known conspiracy theorist. And I don't know what he would call himself these days, but was it The Truth Shall Set You Free by David Icke? Is that even a David Icke book? I don't think it is. But there's a David Icke book that just started talking about life on Earth and other life forms and humans' connections to extraterrestrials and the government and what's going on with money and fiat currency and energy. And he was like, yeah, read this. So then I started reading that. And then when I went to college, I majored in religious studies. Who could have guessed it? Because I knew I could get A's because I didn't have to try hard. I was like, yeah, I know all of these religions. So I majored in religious studies, really took to the people in that department and started studying Buddhism and Hinduism and practicing meditation. My very first college class, the first day of college, it was a class called Silence, Solitude, and Human. Silence, Solitude, and Human. Oh my God. I don't remember. Silence, Solitude, and like Human Awakening or something like that. And the class was by Mark Graham, my advisor in college. And our first assignment, he was like, go outside, turn your phone off. Well, he said, go anywhere, turn your phone off, sit there for an hour, and then write a paper about how that felt. And then he was like, that was meditation. And then I was like, oh. So I sat somewhere for an hour in silence, and I was like, oh, I can like hear like the sounds. If I tilt my head like this, the sound of a bird chirping, the pitch changes just by me tilting my head. And that's when I started getting into meditation. Then I started studying mantras for my senior thesis. I compared speaking in tongues in the Christian tradition with mantras in the Hindu tradition. Glossolalia is the textbook term for speaking in tongues, and then Hindu mantras. And during that time, during that studying, I think I initiated myself into let's just say a certain understanding about sound and the magic of sound. And then I started myself speaking in tongues during researching that. I call it light language because that's what I understand it as. But so now I speak a dialect of a language that doesn't exist, but I can speak it. And other people speak it as well, who I've met online. Like they can speak it back to me, but it's gotten weird. I didn't know we were gonna get this weird.
That's not weird at all. I think it's actually amazing that you've immersed yourself in so many different ways of looking at the world, right? And so many different perspectives. What would you say you practice now? Or like, yeah, what are your thoughts around like, you know, the routines you have, the habits you have around sort of, yeah, your beliefs?
So right now I'm in a space where, well, first, so I'm in this very, what do people call it? Secular space where I'm just like working and starting a business and building a school and like, building a wardrobe and like very earthly stuff that I have neglected because I've been like reading about stars, and I'm like, oh, I have to like have money and do stuff. So I'm in that space, and that space has taken me away from having a practice. So I'm I think I'm in a space that's similar to a lot of people, which is you are trying to balance your work with your spiritual practices, and remembering to meditate, and remembering to eat well. And so being consistent is something I'm working on. I've never been the most consistent person, and I think at this time I'm at an all-time high of not being consistent. So I know your question was like, what do you do now?
No, that's fair. I think that's completely fair. And I think it's hard for a lot of people at this time to really be consistent, right? What is, really routine or normal at this point?
But I also think I'm growing, or I know I'm growing to understand life. Because, I'm just 26. So not that age is everything, but I'm growing to understand other facets of life, and they might not seem so spiritual, but they are. So for example, if I would say what's a part of my routine or my religion now, it's drinking water. Did you know you had to do that every day? I really did. I mean, I knew you had to like take us, but I didn't know you really had to hit them 8 cups like every day. So now like my religion is literally, I would take you if you're on, I was gonna take you over to my calendar. I'm gonna still take you.
Feel free, yeah.
No, because I might fuck up the internet.
Okay.
But over here, there's a calendar, and it just says on it a W every day, and that means I drank 3 liters of water, and I'm like W. So right now I'm just taking care of my physical body, so that it can be a vessel for more spiritual abundance, power, light, photons, whatever you want to call it. Just working on being grounded, working on my lower chakras, my navel chakra, the digestive system, just getting my vessel in alignment so that I can just progress. Because some things you can't, like if your body isn't healthy, it will hinder. Well, let me speak for myself. If my body at its unhealthy state does hinder my my spiritual awareness, because I'm in pain and I'm feeling low vibratory, having negative thoughts because of the pain. And for me, I'm learning that I have to maintain a certain level of physical health to have a certain level of spiritual health.
Yeah, no, I love that.
So I'm juicing now. I'm making herbal medicine, plant medicine. I'm working with plants, which is a spiritual practice as well. I'm working with tinctures and elixirs and just different herbs. So I'm over there, but I still meditate and do those things, but I'm just in a different cycle right now.
Yeah, no, I think that's amazing. And that's one of the reasons why I loved always having a conversation with you, because I know every time we've done things together, like the conversation just goes on for so long because I'm just so fascinated.
Are we both? Are you an Aries?
Am I an Aries?
Yeah.
My moon or my sun? My moon is an Aries. Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
And my sun. Okay.
Yeah, my sun's Leo. Yeah.
Yes, I remember.
Yeah. And yeah, I really find it so fascinating because I didn't really grow up in, a religious sense. And for me, a lot of my thoughts on, how I approach my practices and things like that has really been more, I would describe it, I guess, more focused on maybe a little bit more spiritual. I don't know. I mean, I'm just curious in your mind, and I think we had this conversation as well, like, is there a difference between being spiritual and religious? I'm just curious for you, because for me, I would consider myself, I guess, spiritual. I don't know, but yeah, what are your thoughts on that?
Okay, so my thoughts on that are, one, I'll tell you my thoughts, so don't mind. But also, not to say that my thoughts are not, they don't rule. Like other people, do have different ways of seeing it, and they're not wrong.
Mm-hmm.
They
Yeah.
also can be right. But so my thoughts on that are that religion means to me something that you do over and over that gives your life structure and orients you to what you consider a higher power. So it's literally ritualized behavior or a pattern of behavior, a routine that orients you or helps you to focus or helps you to connect to or be in communion with what you believe to be a higher principle or higher power. So watching football can be a religion. There are rituals around it. People do it every Sunday. I think it's Sunday. People do it on the same day a week. There are colors involved and chants, and there are lucky socks, and there are there is a belief in it because that there are attached to these players and to these games are really strong emotions and the belief that this person represents a higher ideal. Like Kobe, for example, I think baseball is some people's religion. They're like, this guy represents hard work, dedication, excellence. That's the higher principle. And by me tuning in every week and me buying the merch and me donating to the organization, and sometimes praying before games, traditional religion mixed in with conventional religion, that is me orienting myself to what I believe is the highest principle that is available to me. So my definition of religion, which I did get from studying religion in college, like I didn't come up with that. It was like my professor, Mark Graham, was like, hey, let me just tell you, religion is just what you do over and over again to make you feel closer to God. But the tricky part is people have different definitions of God. But your question, which is like, what's the difference between religion and spirituality? I know folks, like most people, I know that there's this video that very popular that had gone around a few years ago about the poet who was doing the poem about, I don't want to be religious, I want to be spiritual. And I think he shares what a lot of people share is that religion is what I would refer to as organized religion. Those religions that have a name and a pope or a head of an organization is very organized. You know how the pope is the top at the Vatican, and then you have priests and you have nuns. It's organized. Or at a temple, you have the rabbi. It's organized. I think when people say religion, they're talking about Judaism, Christianity, Buddhism, Islam. Those religions that have sacred texts that are widely popular. But and then when they say spirituality, they mean anything outside of that. But just my understanding is that everybody has their own religion. Even people who say they don't believe in God, they usually have a routine and they have ideals that they believe in and that their routine helps them to get closer to. So I would say they have a religion, but I recognize most people when they say I'm not into religion or that I am into religion, they mean I am into the structures that have been put in place, and maybe my parents taught them to me and their parents taught them to them. And it's very clear for me to understand because there is someone like a teacher, a rabbi, a pope who is giving me the information, and that's what they mean by religion. But I wouldn't say that that religious people do not have spirituality or that spiritual people do not have religion. I think both have both.
Yeah, no, I like that. And I mean, I also think of, or one of the ways I think of sort of religion is as this habit or routine as well.
Right.
And so, yeah, just great to hear it from someone who actually studied it. I just read a few books, so.
I also just read a few books. I just read them for 4 years.
A lot longer than I did. So I'm curious, you've mentioned that you sort of have these three parts to yourself. How much time do you spend on each? How do you decide where to spend your time and your energy between the three?
I would not say it's organized. I would say it's a bit chaotic, to be honest. I wouldn't say I know exactly what I'm doing. when one calls, I answer, which I know is not the best business model, but sometimes in one day I've done all three. Like I'll have a counseling client at 1, 8, like, so I'll do somebody's social media when I wake up at 9, and then I'll have a counseling client at 1 to 2:30, and then at 3, I'm toting a bag of leather goods to DHL to ship them to America. And I've done all three of my jobs in one day. That's usually how it is.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, I mean, I think that's for a lot of people who have like a project-based sort of lifestyle. I would say for me, it's somewhat similar. Yeah, for me, it's somewhat similar. I'm trying to trim it down a little bit, but yeah, very much for me, very project-based. You know, it's like, I'll spend this much time on something, and then hopefully there's enough time to get this done. I'll figure out a way to put it in there. Yeah.
What makes you want to trim it down?
I think for me, it's really thinking about alignments. You know, one of the reasons why I decided to work for myself was simply because I couldn't find an opportunity where I felt like I wasn't compromising my values. And so for me, I'm always checking in. I'm very much someone who not only shows their emotions on their face, but I will procrastinate if I don't like it. It's really obvious. And so for me, if I notice that I am avoiding something and I'm consistently avoiding it, and it's not something obvious, like I really hate filling out invoices, I really hate sending, like those are like, I know for me, doing some of those routine tasks I dislike. But if it's beyond those routine tasks and I recognize that I'm feeling a little bit of resentment, yeah, I'm like, nah, man, I got to remove myself. And there's things I've started that I enjoyed in the beginning, and then that resentment comes, I'm out. Yeah.
But see, I think that's self-love. Like that's that could be considered spirituality, because you're listening in. You said I'm always checking it. So what are you checking into? You're checking into your spirit, into yourself, and going, my spirit doesn't like this when I do this. It doesn't make me feel good. Feelings are spiritual because they're a part of the emotional body, which is a body you cannot see. A doctor cannot go into your head and see your emotions. Yeah. Like that's in a different plane. Your emotions and how they move, it's not in a physical plane. So when you check in with your emotions, that's spirituality. That's you checking in with a part of yourself that's not physical, that's spiritual. And you're checking in and you're going, okay, I hear you. I'm going to change something to orient myself towards joy, towards excitement. So I'm proud of you.
Thank you. But that's really it. And after, you know, I guess for some people, they would look at me and be like, oh, you're too young to like feel like you can't find something else to do. And I'm like, nope. I would just, you know, go to places and I'd be like, yep, not willing to do that. Not compromising my integrity again. Too old for that. Like, nope. Like,
too old for that.
Seriously, that was the thought I had. Like, been there, done that. You're not doing that to me again. Oh yeah.
Right. That's just called learning. That's just, what is that Einstein quote? Madness is doing something over and over, expecting different. So you just learned that you don't want to do that again. You know, you're not saying, I'm not going to try new things. You're like, oh, I know what this is. I'm not doing that.
Yeah, exactly. So that's sort of how I guess I approach it. But it's been really interesting. I think as I have worked for myself longer, the more I recognize that, yeah, this is more me for sure. I don't think I have felt more like me ever, which is a weird thing to say, because I did enjoy running teams and building teams and working with people in a more structured environment, but I think I enjoy it from the outside in this way a lot more. Yeah.
Because you were doing it with an organization before?
Yeah, so before, I was, working for a large startup and sort of, building teams there. It was really scary to start off with. And then I just sort of became really interested in like hacking it and figuring out how to make it work. And when I first learned I was going to leave, I freaked out. I was like, nothing, I could never do anything again like this. Nothing will ever be as, awesome. And that was a lie. But
how old were you when you thought that?
28.
Okay.
Maybe 28, I think maybe it was 29, maybe 29, yeah.
And how old are you?
I started at 25. Now I'm 32. Yeah.
Okay. So it's been like 3 years.
Yeah, I very much. And other people are just like, what? Like, why would you work for yourself? And I also had always told myself this story that, oh, I could never work for myself. I'll never have any good ideas. No one will ever pay me, you know? Just tell yourself
That's
a lot
the
of things.
demon. This the demon. That's the demon. That's the demon that goes, and by demon, I just mean
Negative self-talk, right?
Negative self-talk. Because it's not true in any way, shape, or form. It's just keeping you from trying, because 3 years later we see that you were very successful at it, and that voice was not valid at all. But that it was there.
You know.
What? Girl, you are okay. Okay, we can debate that later, but you working.
Oh yeah, no, I really enjoy what I'm doing. I wouldn't change it for anything. And I'm incredibly grateful that, you know, so pretty much what happened is that, like, I lost my job, and I'm super grateful that I had that opportunity. If that hadn't happened, I wouldn't be where I am now.
I'm gonna preach to you though. Like, I'm super happy what I'm doing. That's already success, because you got people at work.
100%. Yeah.
They're like, I hate my job. I can't do this. I'm stressed. My hair is falling out. And you're like, I love what I do. I love everything I do. Like, that's a huge step to success.
No, with you 100%. Yeah, no, incredibly grateful for this. And I enjoy my Mondays. I love Monday, and I love most days of the week.
I don't be knowing what day it is on the week though. I be like, is this Tuesday? Is this Wednesday? I just know I have a to-do list, and I'm gonna do it. I
kind of think like that's a good thing though, right? Who said, like, you know, this whole idea of like work day, when you work, I mean, as long as you feel like you're getting some rest and you're getting what you want done, I mean, no, okay, well.
No, I be needing the rest. It be the rest I don't be getting. I don't be getting the rest.
It's coming.
I sleep, but I don't rest. It is coming.
It's coming.
It is coming.
Yeah, there's sometimes, you know, that season of having to work, you know, a little bit more sometimes. You need to go through that. Yeah.
So what other questions did you got for me? What you want to know?
I think another thing that'd be really interesting for me to hear, I know we talked a bit about this before, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on where should people start? You know, astrology, numerology, you know, if someone was interested in more, and I don't have a better term for this, but what I think of is just like alternative self-awareness. Where do you suggest they start? Because I feel like it can be a bit of a like, it's not a negative thing, but like the only thing I think of is like a bit of a black hole, right? There's so much that you can learn, that you can go into. Where do you suggest people start if they're interested?
Okay, so you start with your interests. You shouldn't force it. You start with what makes you actually go, wait, I'm fucking fascinated by that. Hold on, like, is that what you're saying? And then go into that. So the trap is to feel like you gotta study one thing because everybody's talking about it. I gotta study crystals because people got crystals. Yeah. It's just not it. It's not it. Spirituality, I'm gonna stop doing air quotes.
It's hard.
I just you're like, what's the term? I just call it being authentic. Being authentic to yourself, being in alignment with who you really want to be, and being authentic. What was I gonna say?
Where to start?
Yeah, I'm here. The trap is to think that there is a way to do it. It's not. It's not. The way is, the codes are within you. That's what your DNA is. And you have to yield to your DNA. You have to listen to your interest, to what makes you come alive, what fires you up and go in that direction. And that's going to be different it could be fashion design, could be spiritual for somebody, okay? Like, so one is to understand spirit. An alternative way of saying spirit is fire. A lot of times in astrology, fire signs are said to be fire. In alchemy, fire is spirit. Water is emotions, where fire is spirit. And think about fire, what does it do? It heats up. Mm-hmm. So what makes you heat up, what makes you be on fire, those are the things that are spiritual to you. Those are literally the things that move your spirit. So figure out what moves your spirit and then do that thing really intensely. It's not crystals, it's not yoga, it's not meditation. Those things move my spirit, but also poetry is very spiritual to me. And it moves my spirit. A lot of other things. Music is super duper spiritual. So you can, a lot of people have found their sense of connectedness to God, connectedness to life through things that don't seem spiritual. Runners, basketball players, chefs, dancers. They're like, this, when I'm doing this, I know God exists. When I'm cutting these onions, God exists. And not because I'm crying, but I just know what I'm gonna do in this recipe. And I know this is God speaking through me. So first, just be honest with yourself about what you like, what you enjoy, and then go and do those things. And then if it's the typical occult stuff like meditation, yoga, whatever, I'm not saying yoga is a cult. If it's the typical, tarot cards and blah, blah, then you just study that. Start doing readings for people and stuff. But you ask where to start. Honestly, that's where to start. So there are different resources. There are let's say there's 5 different resources. I just made this up. Let's see if I can get to 5. There's YouTube. There's Google. There's Google articles. There are YouTube videos. There are books, audio books, physical books. There are lectures, and that goes into YouTube. You can find the lectures on YouTube about anything you're interested in. So you can find books about it. You can find lectures about it. You can find articles about it. There are social media. It's you reaching out. Remember, I told you I found another person who speaks in tongues on the internet, and then we found out we speak at the same time. And now me and that dude is friends, and we talk every few months, and we just kick it and talk about speaking in tongues. So there's social media, reaching out to people who do what you're interested in and going like, hey, I got a question. Or like, hey, what do you think about this? Creating that community around what's spiritual for you. And then a 5th one, what is there? There is journaling about it, praying about it, just spending time with it, maybe do a project around it. Like if you want to, I don't want to tell people to do that because you kind of have to learn before you teach, but doing some type of project around it. Those are resources. That's where you can start, but you got to start within and knowing what it is that is spiritual for you. I would never tell somebody my tradition in occultism, my teachers, one of our number 1 principles is that you mind your business. You don't tell people what to do. You do what you want to do. I do what I do. We mind our business and we do the best that we do separately, and we become our best selves. This is not a team sport. Life is really, you can have it, but your awakening, this is something that Brother Panic talks about. Your awakening is a personal journey, and I can't tell you girl, you should read this book. Even if I do, I'm just a conduit. I'm just a messenger that your spirit has sent to tell you to read that book. But it's still you. You check in with your interest and go, Caira told me to read this book. Spirit, do I want to read this book? And then if you do, it's not that I told you to read the book. It's that your spirit was like, yes, read that book. So it's not for me to tell folks what to do. All I can tell you is that you know what to do. So do it.
Yeah, no, I love that.
Yeah.
I think that's awesome. And right, that's also just knowing your body and trusting your intuition as well. And that's something that I feel like as an adult, that's something I've had to get back. I feel, I think when I was younger, I felt like I just do what I want. That feels right. Go there. Right. And I feel like we then spend a lot of our time, really so focused on what other people are doing, what we think we should be doing. And then we get to an age where we're just like, you know what, I want to do me again. And
you'd be
trying to trust yourself.
It's not working. I know I'm supposed to be doing it, but I don't like it. And I'm sad. And then you'd be like, all right, let me do what I want to do again. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So what's next for you?
I'm building a school. I'm so
Yes.
excited. I'm building a school in Abri. We're still in the fundraising stages of buying land, but very deeply into business plan and like planning out everything. And I just mentioned that because for me, it's a family business. It's a for-profit social impact. So it's an art gallery, and the school is for impoverished artists who can otherwise not afford to go to or be in an institution, an academy. But it's not like a traditional school, in that we are only enrolling 10 students or fellows. It's more of an adult learning program and having fellowships. So you could be 16 to 60 years old. And for me, it's a heart-centered project because like it's pulling all my chaotic energy together. Like, how do I make money for my family? How do I help in generational poverty for me, but also for people on the continent, people in Accra who have so much talent, but not the support. My business partner, Saidi Ibrahim, he's an amazing carver, and he cannot read or write, but he taught himself Mandarin and speaks 6 languages, Mandarin being one of them.
That's amazing.
He's brilliant, and he has 4 kids who I think are so adorable, and it makes me feel good that like I'm in the process of building something for him and for me and for my family, and for just for folks who deserve but just didn't have the little bit of schooling it took to write a grant to do. And then it's going to be out like in the mountains, so it's also like a health and wellness thing. It's going to be sustainable, eco-friendly. It'll also be a destination spot for resorts, or not resorts, but for, well, maybe for people who want to get out of Accra and be in nature and be around art. And so that's next. And then, you know, I'm going to get married to my husband. I don't know who he is. Me and my friend.
I'm still excited about it.
Thank you. Because when you said next, I was like, okay, like that's next. I'm like, there's so much, you know, I'm 26, so there's life out there. Maybe I'll go, I don't know. That's what's next. The school is next immediately.
Yeah.
But, you know, growth and happiness and love and friendship, all of those are next as well.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for your time. I love having conversation with you. I mean, our conversations are always so wide ranging, but I'm really excited that we had the chance to do this. So thank you.
Thank you too for asking me.
All right. Bye.